Hello, my name is Joe Roshetko. It is June 4th, 2025. My class is FTH 202. Class number is 56574. This is the week one revolvers assignment. The largest design flaw I see with revolvers is, I think, the most glaring. It's capacity and reloading speed. Initially, a revolver required a lot of work to reload. In the very beginning, loading powder and ball was incredibly time consuming and required you to be out of the fight for a long time, much longer than with modern revolvers. Um, One of the first improvements that came along was utilizing shells instead of black powder and ball. This led to not only more consistency with the shot that was being used, but also standardization in the way that they were loaded. It took much less time to do so. It was still time consuming because in some cases you had to remove the barrel entirely to create access to the cylinders. It was still significantly faster and more efficient than the older way. The next improvement I see would be the loading gate. Required you to load a shell through the gate and then rotate the cylinder, and then load a shell through the gate and then rotate the cylinder, and so on and so forth. This did save a significant amount of time from removing the barrel, but it was still pretty slow. You're still required to remove the spent casings prior to reloading, and in some cases that can take just as long as putting shells back into it. All right. Sometimes under stress, like in a gunfight, you lose coordination, and trying to stuff shells into that loading gate could become very, very time consuming, causing you to lose count or lose shells onto the ground. All right, just took a lot of time. The largest improvement with modern revolvers is having the ability for the whole cylinder to swing out, and then utilizing your extractor to push the shells out, the spent casings out of the cylinder, and then you can use tools like a speed loader, to reload that cylinder, putting the rounds back into the firearm much quicker. All right. This is still a time consuming process and other things. So, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest deficiencies in today's design is still the same as it always has been, which is capacity. When you're at the range plunking off 6 to 8 rounds, reloading time is not that big of a deal. You fire and you stop and you reload. However, firearms, especially handguns, were designed to be one thing overall, which is weapons of war. Some people may say that firearms are also designed for hunting, and I believe that's a secondary purpose of the firearm, but the initial design was, of course, as a weapon of war. The most important thing when using a firearm as a weapon of war is being able to put rounds on target quickly. All right. With a revolver, you kind of lose that edge because of how long it takes you to reload. With a magazine fed firearm, your capacity is solely based on how large of a magazine you can design. All right. And with a wheel gun, you kind of have what you have. I took most of my information from the lecture and from the required reading. Thank you for your time.